Hey, what's up? Welcome to DGen Ed. That's degenerative education, meaning none of this is financial advice. Just me having fun looking at charts. And so this is pre-market prep for Tuesday, April 8th, and I'll be diving through the normal tickers, beginning, of course, with the UVIX. But before I get into those, I did just want to point out that over on X, you can follow me at dgen_an. I've got this poll going on, about 7 minutes left. Which ticker should I go over in today's video? It looks like Robinhood and Nvidia are taking the lead, tied at a third each. Only 6 votes. Make sure you vote in that. If these are tied after 7 minutes, I'll probably just go with Nvidia because that was on the list last week and I didn't get to cover it. And then I will add probably Unity software for tomorrow's poll because that's one that I want to go over. But yeah, let's dive into the charts here. And also I should note, I guess before I get into them, I do have the chat hidden from me. I will check that once I've gone through the list here. Just don't want to be distracted. But anyways, here looking at the UVIX, which is of course the 2x long VIX futures ETF, closed yesterday at a price of $73.49, being effectively flat on the day, going up some, opening higher, but then pulling back to the approximate close of Friday last week. So it does seem like it's putting in a notable topping signal, and that is represented in the pre-market price action, with it coming down about 15.5%, trading around $62 a share now, which is still above this red line though. It's going to be right around here where the cursor is. So we'll look at the 10-minute time frame in just a minute to get an idea about that. But yeah, what we can see here is that following the massive upside move in August, on August 5th of last year, we had broken out of this channel, or really, we just broke out. And then once we pulled back, we kind of started to consolidate within this parallel channel based on these 3 pivot points that you can see here. And then it wasn't until recently, it looks like on March 10th and 11th, we started to kind of get a fake out breakout, which was, really a sign that we might be getting a big move like this. I try to follow this every couple weeks. I notice that it has a trend of going up and then a couple weeks trend of going down. And right now, basically following today, we are going to be back into kind of the red zone. And yeah, so I think that we are most definitely going to be seeing a pullback from the highs that we hit yesterday during market hours. And so that was yesterday, April 7th. We hit a high of $92.88. I suspect we will be getting back below this red line at 54.60, but maybe we will find this light blue downtrend as support rather than resistance. Would also kind of correspond with this purple trend line that I have drawn here. So maybe price comes down to around 40 before we start to bottom again. But yeah, I think that over the course of the next couple weeks, I'll draw another red box here tomorrow because this box represents 10 trading days, and we have completed those 2 weeks, 10 trading days. But yeah, let's look real quick over at the 10-minute time frame. And so we can see that, yesterday's trading opened higher and actually hit a high during pre-market trading on Monday of $125. Really, blow off top there. Pretty clear to see that. And then it's just been kind of a steady fade down. Did hit a low during market hours yesterday. It looks like a 52.11, so piercing that red line. I suspect we will be testing it again today during market hours. So yeah, I look for this to come down to around 55, maybe $54 a share, maybe 52.11, and yeah, and then I will have to adjust that green box to reflect that this uptrend has kind of ended. And with that being said, I will look over at the SVIX, but first I did want to take a look over at the VIX. This looks like I've got too many levels drawn up on this. These were not really, something to be paying attention to over the past, half a year following this pullback, but we did move up to, let's see, yeah, I'm just going to adjust this. So actually remove some of those levels. Actually, I'll leave the 0%, that's the floor. But then looks like the 786.54.76 was pierced yesterday. We opened at 60.13, which was the high for the day in the VIX. And then we did pull back, closing below 54.76, that's 786 there, closing at a price of $46.98. But being up yesterday relative to Friday's close, being up 3.69%. Gotta love that number. It follows me everywhere for some reason. And and I should note too that the VIX is the market volatility index. So as markets kind of go down, crash down, the VIX goes up. And did not quite get to this prior high that was hit on August 5th. That was at a price of 65.73. And I did have an alert actually placed at 65, just kind of out of curiosity to see if we would get up there. And we didn't. And maybe what we're seeing now is a little bit of a pullback before another spike in volatility going up. Maybe we do test 65, but so far, not so much. I suspect we will be coming down to around 28.32. Looks like that's the red line here. And that was the high hit on December 18th. So we'll have to wait and see. But with that being said, talking about the VIX pulling back and the UVIX pulling back in the pre-market, I do have a very small position in the SVIX. This is the 1x short VIX futures. And so the 1x, negative 1x, that means that this is not leveraged, but this is short, the VIX. And so I had started adding, basically at 18, I had talked about 18 being, let's see, the low over here from March 11th was 1781. So yeah, but I kind of casually talked about 18 maybe being a dip buy level. I got one share there. It started getting more aggressive as it dipped lower. I think I didn't have this. This is kind of like a retracement level that I expect it to bounce to. And so that's actually where I have my limit sell order placed at is 1581. Had it at 16, but it's like, no, I'm just going to leave it at 1581. I don't want to get greedy. And I had started buying too early. And so I'm not going to be taking much profit at that level. But if we do look back in time, when this did kind of collapse over here leading up to August 5th, we didn't get back to those levels. And so I don't expect us to get back into these green or red boxes. And following this downside move, forgot to mention we did pull back. We did bounce up to the 382. And so the 382 from here would be around 1581. I'm sure I could make more money on it, but I'm just trying to be cautious. I was buying the dip, and I do have, I believe, limit dip buys at 11, 11, 11, and I believe $12 a share, which is going to be, let's see, corresponding with right around where the cursor is, that level there. If we do dip, I will buy some more. I was also getting some more at 13, 12.90 around there yesterday. But yeah, I'm just hoping to kind of get out of this. I kind of jumped the gun a little too early, and I should have just waited to be buying down here when it seemed like there was a lot of panic and it could be a bottom. And so I didn't play that exactly right. And with that being said, I'm not going to be taking much profit because, I need to get better at the timing of those executions for the buys. And I started doing it prematurely here on Thursday of last week, I believe. I should have waited for Monday, really just during the pre-market. That would have been the best time to buy. And then if I would have done that, I'd be looking at being up around 10 to 20% right now. But anyways, that didn't happen, so I'm going to be exiting at 1581 if that level gets hit. Hopefully it does. But yeah, as we can see during the pre-market, we are up about 3.5%. But interestingly, it does look like we got rejected from exactly $14 a share. That was hit about 40 minutes ago. and yeah, did get rejected from there, but we have really just been floating higher since the lows of 11.11 hit during market hours yesterday. But yeah, we'll see where this takes us. I suspect it will be hitting 1581. I suspect it may be hitting 16, but I just don't want to be getting greedy. And so now I will flip over to the SPY to talk a little bit about that. This is another one, you could be going along with this just like the SVIX. The SVIX short the VIX. The VIX is short the SPY, effectively, which is the S&P 500 tracking ETF, which closed yesterday at a price of $504.38, being effectively flat, being down 0.18% on the day. And it looks like it got a very nice bounce from this green line that I've drawn here at $487.65, which was the low that was hit on April 19th of last year. And we did hit a low of $481.80, but if one would have bought at $487.65, one would be up about 3% right now, so not looking so bad. And actually right now in the pre-market, it's up an additional 2.5%, so seeing quite a nice bounce, trading around 517, and that would be up around over 5%. So that would have been a great one to buy the dip on. And yeah, so let's look over at the 10-minute time frame just to take a look at that. Yeah, very nice bounce from yesterday's pre-market. Very nasty gap down, hit a low during the market hours yesterday, 481.80, as I had mentioned, piercing that green line, bouncing up, getting rejected from 513.05. And now trading higher than that, above 517 currently. So looking really good. And yeah, I'm wondering if this gap up here will get filled. So maybe I'll have to mark that. That's based on the close from the 3rd, which was Thursday of last week. And that was at a price of $536.70. I do have that marked correctly. That gap is open, so a dashed line, I'm going to make it blue just because I like to make the gaps blue. And so let's see if we get up to that level or if we get up to this green uptrend, which is based on the one pivot low from from April 19th, and the other one, the pivot low from August 5th. And so I suspect that will be some notable resistance, and that may even correspond with this light blue horizontal line around $558. So we'll see. Maybe we get a bounce up there, but then get rejected before pulling back. Volatile market, so good to see what happens with this. But let's look over real quick at the SPX, which is the S&P 500 index. This closed yesterday at a price of $5,062.25. being down about 0.25% on the day. No pre-market trading on this one, but we will get to see that, and the SPY is a good tracker of it. And yeah, I suspect that this will be trading around $5,144.17, $5,144.17, which is this 100% Fibonacci extension, same that I have drawn over here. And yeah, so maybe this does get rejected around here, and maybe I should also draw the gap like I just did with the SPY. And so that was from April 4th, and that closing price was at $5,396.52. Have that marked correctly. Going to make that dashed, thick, and blue, so we know there is a gap there. And so maybe we get a rejection around $5,400, maybe. Where is this alert? That is at a price of $5,504. It looks like. I'm not going to adjust that alert, but that does kind of correspond with getting a rejection from that green uptrend. So very interesting to see what happens there. But now let's flip over to Bitcoin. This is one I'm super excited about. Same with Ethereum. I have kind of adjusted my strategy to be more aggressively buying the dip, because I think that by the end of the year, both Bitcoin and Ethereum could be a lot higher. And so I'm kind of just viewing them as a savings account for the year, not necessarily a buy and hodl, yeah, and so Bitcoin is currently trading around $80,000, getting a nice bounce here from the lows of yesterday around 74,500. We are trading above this 50% retracement, which is around 78,800, right around there, and that retracement is based on, that level is based on this retracement. It's a 50%. We did not yet get to the 618, which I suspect we might be getting there in the coming weeks. And with that being said, I don't have a limit buy order placed, which I need to kind of assess after the stream. But you can see that I do have an alert here at 72,000. I'll probably just do a $10 dip buy there, and at 69,420, got to kind of assess what my budget's like, but I was thinking of doing maybe just a dip buy $100 there. And I am doing, let's see, with Bitcoin, $40 DCA. And so, nothing too exciting there, but I'm just thinking about like $250 a week with Bitcoin, because I do think that, we could be back up here above 100,000 by the end of the year. And also, I did dip buy, I think, yesterday before the market opened. Maybe it was Sunday evening, I forget. But I did dip buy a little bit of Bitcoin just to swing for the CME gap fill, which is around 84,000. I have a limit sell placed at 83,000, and that is with Robinhood. There's a little bit of a spread, so that's why I have the limit sell there placed notably lower than the CME gap. And that would just be for a quick swing trade, put $50 on it. And I do have a limit buy order, I believe, placed at 73,000. That did not get filled because I placed it after this dip. And so, if it dips lower, I'll add. But if it doesn't dip, if it rips, I'll exit. And so that'll just be, a nice fun little trade for me for the week. And if it doesn't get up to here, if it does go lower and it just falls off a cliff, I'll just go into long-term holding. So no big deal with Bitcoin. And then if we do look over at Ethereum, this also has gotten a nice little bounce, currently trading a little bit below 1,600, hit a low of just above 1,400, and also did pierce the alert that I have here at $1,500, $1,500. So I've also been more aggressively dip buying Ethereum. For me, I'm just doing $45 a day. I was previously doing $10 with Ethereum and $5 with Bitcoin. But this is just, $200 a week, daily DCA. And I just think that this has broken below this yellow uptrend, which I kind of talk about every day, which is based on these prior lows. But, it has pulled back to this green uptrend, which is based on this pivot high from, June of 2019, and then pivot low of June of 2022. And that would bring us to around 15 to 14,000. We have pulled back exactly to those levels. And so, I am just, and also just, thinking about it around 1,500, 1,500, there is definitely, let's see, from where we're currently at, getting up to the prior highs of this year, 4,000. That's a 158% swing to the upside, or, just a 100% swing that's getting to around 32,000. And so my kind of strategy with Ethereum versus Bitcoin is both of these are just kind of into savings, is how I'm viewing them. Bitcoin, I'd like to hodl. I'd like to not sell. Hodl, I don't know exactly how you pronounce it. Probably hodl, because then it's like hodor. But maybe not. I just view this as getting a better percentage than I would get from my savings account, which is less than 4%. I think this will go up more than 4%. But ideally, I would just not let go of this one. And Ethereum, if this doubles, then, I could just sell the Ethereum and hold the Bitcoin. And so that's kind of my strategy with these, but maybe it's a terrible idea and we're about to fall off a cliff. No idea. And speaking of falling off a cliff, there are two ways to short Bitcoin. One is with Biddy, which I've talked about on the channel multiple times during the streams. Currently trading around 27.43, or closed yesterday, I should say, at 27.43, being up 7%, but it is pulling back by about 2%. And the pre-market's trading below $27 a share. But if one really wanted to go hard against Bitcoin, that would be with the SBIT, which is the ultra short Bitcoin ETF, which is 2x leverage short. And so like this close, I should mention, 14.19 yesterday, up 14%, so being about double the 7% over here, and then the being down 2% in the pre-market, also about double here, actually more than double, down 4.79%, trading around 13.50 in the pre-market. So, a lot more exposure, benefits to the upside if Bitcoin's going down, but more risk if Bitcoin is bouncing, and that is what we're currently seeing. So I feel like it's kind of a bad time to be short Bitcoin, since we did just have, the nasty pullback. But then I will pull up ticker symbol URA, which is the Global X Uranium ETF. Closed yesterday at a price of $20.51, being down 1.49%, bouncing about 4.25% in the pre-market, currently trading around 21.38, but not above the high of yesterday, which was 21.88. But we could see this kind of nice, spinning top, but big wicks to the upside and downside, suggesting that buyers are stepping in to the downside, but sellers are trimming, on the bounce to the upside. If we do look at this on the 10-minute time frame, we can see the gap into the pre-market yesterday on Monday the 7th. And then this just kind of floated higher, but a pullback at open. And that could just be because people had stop losses placed that weren't enacted until, or weren't activated until the market opened. So get a little bit of a flush there, and then went up to that high shortly after. Within basically the first hour of trading, hit a high of 21.88 before pulling back some, but then floating up into the after hours, gapping up into the pre-market. And so we'll see where that takes us. I generally think that, just for building up the energy infrastructure in the U.S., and I think that nuclear is a great way to diversify the energy portfolio. I think that uranium is probably a good investment long term, but I really don't know. But anyway, since I've gone through that, let's pull up the chat in case there are any comments there. And then I will also come over here to see that Hood and Nvidia did win. And so I'll just go over Nvidia today. It would be nice to see some more participation in that. And so let's just see here. And if there is time, I guess I will also go over Hood. And so maybe, I think that there will probably be time. So I'll just add Hood over there. And so, hey, Benjamin, how's it going? I can definitely pull up FLNC for you just to look at it real quick. I think that we're going to see generally short-term bounces, but we could see some further downside. It's holding up. It's not as sharp of a V-shaped recovery. It's not a V-shaped recovery. What we can see is that volume is down, which is not so great because, it was a green day, but, buyers weren't really able, it's my doodle right there, kind of looks like it blocked the top there, hitting a high of 459, closing down about, and also this is showing some relative weakness, closing red about 0.5%. It looks like 0.46%, bouncing in the pre-market, going up about 2%. But I feel like, kind of across the board, a lot of stocks were actually green. The SPY was a little bit red, but it came down 0.18%, whereas FLNC was down more than that. So that's showing some relative weakness. Also, with the volume coming down here, there weren't buyers really stepping in and buying this. So I mean, I feel like, this is not a company I've ever heard of until you mention it. And so I feel like now is not necessarily the time to be in very speculative stocks. If people don't know about them, I feel like they're probably more speculative. So, I mean, my view is that this is probably going down more. Does it get up to, I believe you were asking about 530? I think that maybe it could get up to 5. If we look at, are there options on this? There are options, so we can actually look over at the max pain to see what the max pain is for the week, FLNC. And so max pain for this week is $5. Then it goes up to 6 and 7. And these are for the monthly contracts. There are no weeklies. So, if I said $5 for this week, I meant $5 for next week because it's a monthly contract that'll be expiring on April 17th. So I think that there's a possibility that it could go up to, perhaps beyond $5. But I think that that might be a level to, like, let's say you're kind of on the fence. You don't know if it's bearish or bullish, and then it goes up to 5. Then you're going to be like, oh, it's gone up to 5. I'm now bullish. I think it's going to keep going. But then you get rugged because max pain is 5 and maybe it gets up to 550. And so people, oh, it's clearly above 550. It's, up to these levels. I think it's going to keep going, but then it gets rejected there, and then it gets pulled under $5 by that expiration on April 17th. So, yeah, I mean, I think that getting up to 5, getting up to 530, 550, I think those would be good levels to trim and or exit at, because I think this is probably going lower. Although max pain does suggest that it could be going higher into May, this is now August. There's no contracts, it looks like, at this time for June or July. And that's at 7, but that's also, probably those were probably purchased a while ago. And, when the stock price was higher. So I feel like it's, good to be kind of consolidating focus on stocks that are, are more well known is kind of my view. Also, if we do look at the, I feel like I'm about to sneeze, sorry. If we do look at the MACD, that has been green, but it looks like it's curving back to maybe go red. So that could be suggesting that it's going lower. Although we do have lower lows in the stock price, it looks like we have higher lows in the RSI. So that's bullish divergence. But if price just continues to go lower, the RSI will go lower. So that bullish divergence could be negated. And also, I mean, we did have bullish divergence over here with lower lows in the stock price, higher lows in the RSI, and that just consolidated it before breaking lower. So, yeah, I mean, tough to say, but I feel like it's probably a risky one. And then Guilty Gunner, the bottom is in, baby. Let's go. We are about to see the biggest V-shape moonshot ever. I think that's quite possible, but I think that it also could be, maybe we see a very nice bounce up to like these levels on the SPY before getting rejected again, perhaps going lower, and then maybe that would be the V-shaped recovery. Because if people are saying bottoms in, moonshot, V-shaped recovery, it's happening, I feel like the most pain is probably for you to be thinking, load the boat here, and then it goes higher, and you keep loading the boat because it's that V-shaped recovery, but then you get swept out, and then we see it. So I think the market's all about faking us out, so I would be cautious. But yeah, I will, let's see, pull up the NVIDIA chart, and yeah, I will make a video on this. And then I will get into Hood, which, whoa, I'm going to clear this. Delete all those drawings. And then NVIDIA, let's see, just kind of want to see, what am I thinking about here with this? I'll just, ramble on about these levels. All right. And so, yeah, I'm just going to basically record this like it is a video. And but I will not end it when I say I'm ending it, just because that's for the NVIDIA video. But yeah, Hey, what's up? Welcome to DGen Ed. That's degenerative education, meaning none of this is financial advice. Just me having fun looking at charts, like the chart behind me, which is of Nvidia, ticker symbol NVDA, which closed yesterday on April 7th at a price of $97.64, being up about 3.5% on the day. And it looks like in the pre-market, it's up over 4% above $100 a share. So looking really good there. Did want to go over some of these doodles that I had put up here in prior videos, I believe during a stream. And so, yeah, kind of wanted to talk about them. We have effectively pulled back like I have drawn here with this yellow trend line, or this poly line. Let's see, what is that tool referred to? Poly line that I have drawn. And so I kind of suggested that we'd be getting a bounce here around, $100 a share, which corresponds with the number of levels. And I think that those levels may actually act as a little bit of resistance. Maybe we see some of that today, but maybe we blow past those levels and then find them as support. So I'll just go over them with you here. One of them is this green horizontal line at, it looks like $104.04. That is the 786 from this Fibonacci retracement, going from the lows that we hit on August 5th, historic day in the market, gaps down across the board, finding a bounce. Wonderful day to be buying the dip. I suspect that's kind of what we saw yesterday on the 7th with the lows of $86.62. So if you bought the dip, congrats, you are up notably. And then also the top of that Fibonacci retracement is the all-time highs that were hit on January 7th at $153.12. Other levels that do kind of coincide with where we're currently trading. I have this light blue uptrend, which is, in all honesty, kind of hand wavy at this point, approximately corresponding with the double tops from March and, of March 2024, so a little over a year ago, but that did kind of act as, a nice predictor for the bottom on August 5th. If you bought that level, you would have been up about 35% in the manner of, less than a month, about a few weeks. And then also, we did break below that level. That's kind of, a confluence level that might be acting as resistance, or maybe this is just a fake out break like we saw over here, that we start to trade above, act as support again. And then we also have this yellow downtrend, which is based on the high at the time, the all-time high at the time, June 20th, 2024. We hit a high of $140.73. And then I got the other pivot point for that line, the high August 26th of 2024, after we had that panic low on August 5th, hit the high over here of $131.33. And then also, saw that as resistance over here on September 26th, getting rejected there before pulling back and then breaking above. So I feel like that's a pretty notable level. And that's, really how I kind of draw all of these trend lines here to be intersecting there. And so just with those clusters of levels there, let's flip over to the 10-minute time frame. I am recording this during the pre-market. And yeah, it looks like we're not quite at $104 a share. I suspect we will be getting there during the market hours, but maybe we get rejected. Maybe we consolidate above 100. That would look really good for a continuation, especially if volume is behind the moves that we're seeing. And it does look like the volume, as price was coming down, was going up, so not looking so good. But on Monday, we gapped down, filled that gap, volume behind it, buyers stepping in, taking advantage of the dip. I think this is looking really good. And so, I talked about probably consolidating around $100 a share. If we're consolidating above, I think that looks really good, because then we're above these potential resistance levels, especially if above 104. But if consolidating below 100, I think we could be seeing a pullback to maybe retest this yellow downtrend which would be around a price of $95. But that is a downtrend. It changes every day. So good to kind of be keeping that in mind. And if we do continue higher, I suspect we could be seeing a rejection around this purple uptrend, which is based on, it looks like either the low or the close from August 7th, and then also the, the low from September 6th. And so that's how I get that trend line, really just being kind of an approximate level. Did get a bounce over here. Actually, that's the other pivot point, the low from February 3rd. And we consolidated around it over here. So seems like there is some potential sellers here, people who bought the dips here who didn't get out before the downside move. They might want a breath of fresh air if we do pull up to that level. And so that would be around 115 to 120. Here it looks like the cursor's at around 119. So we'll see if there's some resistance there. And one way we could get an idea about that is by doing a Fibonacci retracement. And so I'm just going to do that from the high here of 153. I believe that was 12, coming down to the low from Monday of 86.62. And so I'm just going to make sure those levels are correct. So 153.12 and 86.62, and the proportions that I want to have on that, I don't necessarily need the 100% or the 0, and I think that the 786 is a little bit ambitious. I think I want the 50% retracement, which, hey, that comes back to the levels that I was just talking about. So I think that a bounce to around 120 here, the 50% retracement to the upside is at 119.87. And so I think there could be some notable resistance there. So I would look for, if we do get up to there in the span of the next week, I would look for signs of weakness. But if we can't get quite up to there, the 382 is going to be around 112. Here it looks like 112.02, which, let's see, that could correspond with getting back to that that orange uptrend. I'm not colorblind, but sometimes I get my numbers and my colors confused for some reason. And but I don't think that that's really too notable of a level. So I'm going to say I think it'll go past 112 if we're to hold above 104. And actually, maybe let's see the 236. That's around 102.31. So those are, two levels that I think we should be paying attention to. So I'm just going to make those retracements thick, kind of a lot of clutter there. But I think that if we can be closing above 100, ideally 102, especially ideally above 104, I think that's looking good. And then, I'll just doodle up here what I think the price could be doing. And so based on yesterday's close, I think that what we could be seeing is something like this, and then getting up here before a kind of nasty rejection, which could bring us back down to here. Maybe go lower than, I think I said 95. This would be around 97, retesting that yellow downtrend. And maybe we get a flush even below the lows over here of 86.62. Because I think the way to cause the most amount of pain for people is for everybody to be saying Black Monday didn't happen. We got a bounce, a massive green candle on the day with volume behind it. Jim Cramer was wrong as always. And this is going to be running up. And the bottom is in, the long-term bottom is in, but then we get rejected here. And I do believe that Jim Cramer said that, now is, the bounce is happening or something. So whatever he's saying, do the opposite of it. I think that we'll be seeing an upside move, but then probably a rejection around here. And then a flush of these lows would cause the maximum amount of pain for people, because I'm sure there are a lot of stop losses placed around 86.50. We flush below that, get those people out of their positions, and then it can continue higher. And so what I think could be happening with this from the lows of yesterday, that would be representing about a 38% move to the upside, but from current price around $102 a share, that would represent about a further upside move of around 17%. So looking really good for Nvidia. And so I'll just leave it like this because that's kind of what I think is going to happen, but we'll have to revisit soon. But, as always, those are just my thoughts. If you found them helpful, make sure you like the video, share your thoughts in the comments down below, and make sure you subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Thanks a lot for watching. And so, yeah, I'll release that as a clip. And since I do have 10 minutes before the market opens, I might want to take a look, or sorry, not before the market opens, but before I want to end the stream. I might actually, I don't think I'll do it justice. So I'll probably refrain from doing hood until tomorrow, or maybe I'll make a special video today, but I think I might do some work outside, so that might not happen. So, yeah, I think that I might end the stream, and let's see. Yeah, I'll release the one clip. I don't want to overdo it, and I'll try to start the stream on time at 8 a.m. Eastern tomorrow rather than 10 minutes late, and then I can dive into hood. And yeah, so I'll just end it there. Thank you all so much for joining. And since I don't see any more comments, requests, and actually, just for fun, I'll maybe pull up AMC and GameStop just real quick. AMC, kind of looking like, got rejected from here. So it looks like it's doing what I doodled over here. But, 280. Max pain for this week is 250. And then GameStop also up about 1.5%, 24.67 in the pre-market. But yeah, I'm just gonna get myself ready for the day. But thank you all so much for joining. I hope you have a great day trading. And if you haven't already, make sure you like the stream, like the videos. Always share your thoughts in the comments down below, and make sure you subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. And Benjamin is getting a last-minute request in for Mara. And so I will just throw that up here real quick. And so for me, I have I think 3 calls that expire in January. I'm not planning on adding Mara to my position. But I think that this is looking potentially really good. There is a post that I think might be helpful. I'll just pull up my notifications. Let's see, my notifications. Where are they? There. And so we have one from, let's see, El Capo of Crypto. And so, this is his current view, and that he still thinks that we might get, be getting a pump up to like 92 to 98,000. This is, kind of that idea of what I'm talking about with Nvidia, getting the most amount of bulls on board, thinking that, we're heading back to all-time highs, but then to flush them out and to really, because people are, okay, we came back to like 74. Stop losses down there, open up some long leveraged positions, and then flush them out. And so he's saying that there's this main support between 60 to 65K. And, I've talked about, dip buying at like 69,420. But I'd still be, aggressively dip buying in this range. So, yeah, with that being said, I think that we'll be seeing some bounces. And so I think that short term, I think that Mara is probably looking really good, but, really just kind of like Nvidia. I think that we could be seeing a bounce up to around here before going lower. And so getting up to there, that would be around $15, maybe $16 a share. And and maybe it could even go up to 19. And yeah, I think that's also feasible for it to do something like this. And these downside arrows are kind of suggesting that we could be going down into this region. Oops. So, yeah. And I would think that's kind of like a cautious dip buy level. And that would, be corresponding with the lows from over here potentially. Or the lows over here. Or maybe this would be getting a little bit lower. That'd be 311. That would be like, ooh, very nice dip buying opportunity down there. But yeah, I think that this will be bouncing, which could go up as high as 33% from where it's currently at, or could go up 33%, 35%, or 70% from where it's currently at. But ultimately, it could be going down 35%, 50%, or 70% to the downside. So lots of potential to the upside and then the downside with that. But yeah, I'm just chilling. I don't think that the long-term bottom's in. But yeah, I will end the stream there with 5 minutes before the hour. Thank you all so much for joining. Hopefully this was helpful for you guys, and I'll be back tomorrow. I'll try to start it at on the hour, so I have more time to do hood and then some other ones. But yeah, thank you so much for joining, and I'll